Okay, now we get to use Follow Me to work out our first architectural element, and actually I should say first of many architectural elements in this very clean basic model. I want to work on this. Let's get the photos up here for a second. This would be another good one where it's not a bad idea to have these photos printed out or just off to the side somewhere easy to reference. Because again, we're not going to be duplicating this space in any way, but we do want to look at some of the elements that are already in place and kind of recreate them or change them to make them our own. You'll notice that this ceiling has a little cove here. So that's what we're going to do first. But I want to focus on the fact that the cove starts just above a crown and then meets into another molding piece. So we've got to allow for that crown. We don't know what the crown's going to be yet. We haven't chosen one. So let's give ourselves plenty of space. Let's look and see what we have to work with here. We've got 2 feet. So if I bring a guide down from the top of this ceiling, we have 2 feet to work with. So if I'm going to start dragging a guide up, and I know that my crown's probably going to be pretty significant. So I'm going to make this 7 inches. Okay? Now, we can bring that cove straight up to the ceiling because then we've got this molding piece that comes down even further than that. So this is good to go. So now we're going to be making a cove that is 1'5". Let's bring it out and let's make it pretty dramatic. Let's go 1'8". And then I'm going to just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to bring another guide down here and pop it to that point. So this is the shape we're going to make. We're going to start with a rectangle just so that it's nice and easy. I'm going to select that and group it. Then I'm going to open it up. Now I'm going to use my arc tool, my 2-point arc tool here, which is this one. And instead of 12, I'm going to bump that up to 20, just so it's a little smoother. From this endpoint to this endpoint, bring a little cove in, and let's give it a bulge of 2.5. Okay, so this is my cove shape. I don't need this. This was just there as a guide or just to help me out, so I can delete that. So here's the cove that I now want to follow this shape. Luckily for us, this is a really, really easy shape. The very first one's nice and clean. It's just a long, big rectangle. So to trace that, I'm going to select the rectangle tool and start from this top corner and make my way over to the other corner and select. Notice this is a solid here, so I don't have to worry about that. And then I've got this big thick header here that also is something that's helping me define this rectangle. Now I can make this into a group. I'm going to move it up in space. And I'm moving it up in space. Notice it's still aligned with this thing. Like if I were to project this line all the way up into space, you can see it's still in line with this. So they're still speaking to each other. This path that we're making will still be working with the shape below. It's basically only moved up along one axis, and because it's the blue axis, if I were to look at it in a perfect plan, it would still be perfectly in line. So I want the path kind of out of the way. I'm going to explode it, and then I'm going to delete that center face. Now I need to explode this. So I'm going to right click and explode that face or that shape. So now I have a raw exploded shape down here and a raw exploded path floating above it, perfectly above it in space. The path is selected. I activate Follow Me, and then I click on the face that I want it to follow. So Follow Me knows that I'm referencing this path, and it creates that coved shape, and it allows the cove to follow all the way around that path. I'm going to triple click on this and group it before I do anything else. Then I'm going to open it up by double clicking and triple click on it once more. And sometimes with Follow Me, you'll get the underside and sometimes you'll get the outside in terms of the color. So sometimes you get this like lavender gray and sometimes you get the creamy white. To make everything look white, you just right click and reverse the faces and then click out in space. So we've got our first cove piece, and then we can go ahead and delete the path above it. And then we can delete guides. All right, so that is the first use of Follow Me, part 1.